Hello and welcome to the next in our series of special interviews here on TVP World. My name is Ashim Kumar. On Wednesday afternoon, Ukrainian President Zelensky will arrive in Washington for a summit with US President Joe Biden and other politicians. He's also expected to address a joint session of Congress. This is Zelensky's first trip outside Ukraine since the full-scale Russian invasion of his country in February this year. What made him risk this perilous journey, and what does he expect to achieve in America? To answer these questions, we're joined by Mr. Martin Swarovski. He's former diplomat and head of Security Strategies Program of European Values. Mr. Swarovski, welcome to TVP World, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure, sir. So what motivated President Zelensky to take this step, to actually travel to America, a dangerous journey, in many ways? What does he want to achieve?
If you look at the amount of the military aid provided by the United States to Ukraine, and if you look at the, let's say, political support, and also bipartisan support in the Congress, it is, I think, a logical place to visit, right? Not only the White House, but also the Congress. U.S. has been indispensable in the military aid for Ukraine. This is clear. And we are now in the phase of expecting another major Ukraine offensive. At least I'm expecting during this winter, maybe in coming weeks, some really substantial offensive comparable with Kherson operation or Kiev operation or Liman. And Ukrainians are preparing the ground. They are amounting the necessary force. They are targeting the Russian infrastructure, Russian logistics, especially in the south. No one knows precisely how the attack will look like. One can assume that it will be from the Zaporozhye region, and it will be aiming down to Melitopol, Berdyansk or Mariupol, and the aim would be just to split the Russian army. But they can strike in other place too. But what is important that for this kind of operation, you need some more, let's say, hardware exclusively suitable for offensive operations. I mean, basically what Ukrainians would need now, they need this ATACMS rocket missiles, the 300 range missiles. With this missile, they could be targeting entire area of Crimea, which would be of paramount importance, because it is a base, right? The Crimea is a base for Russian troops withdrawn from Kherson, and they would need main battle tanks, maybe Abrams. It would be also, I think, useful if they got some planes like A2, A-10 Thunderbolt or F-16, which will be pretty difficult because the air is dominated by the air defense of both sides. But I think there are voices in the United States, and especially in Congress, or among the former generals, who are trying to push on the White House to provide Ukraine with this kind of weaponry. So I assume this will be part of the negotiation, and also it will be some talk about the horizon beyond this war. This is for sure, I guess.
So from what you say, did President Zelensky feel that the U.S. commitment simply wasn't going far enough, or was perhaps wavering in terms of bipartisan support, and that justified his trip? I mean, because the U.S., as you say, has been a staunch supporter of Ukraine throughout this war. So what changed that actually made him physically go?
I would not assess that the support is wavering. There is still bipartisan support. And last but not least, there is support of the United States public, which is of paramount importance. Nevertheless, I told you, I'm in favor of providing these 300-kilometer missiles to the Ukrainians. I'm in favor of providing main battle tanks, and not, there are a couple of former generals like Mr. Ben Hodges or Breedlove, or powerful member of the Congress that are pushing for the White House, because do not be mistaken, this administration, Biden administration, is not like, let's say, administration full of hawks. Not at all. There are people in this administration, I mean, in the State Department or Pentagon, that for the entire life they were rather used to get Russians to some negotiating table. This is the disarmament agenda, right, or the arms control. We have full of experts on this. So I think some more pressure from the Congress, from the public, is needed. Zelensky is very capable of it because he's a star, right? And Ukrainians, not forget, they have not only capable army, but they have, I think, excellent diplomacy nowadays. So I spent 20 years in diplomacy, and when I see really Mr. Kuleba, it is an excellent job that they are doing. So this is, I think, in this direction. And second is, I think, important that the United States, in spring, sometimes it was, I think, April, when Mr. Austin and Mr. Blinken visited Kiev, they clearly defined the war goals of the United States. The war goal is to beat the Russian army in such a scale that it will not pose a major threat for its neighbors, which is important for the Baltic states, for Poland, for my region. So I read this war aim as to achieve a situation in which European members of the NATO, with their own capabilities, will be able to face in the future the Russian threat,
right,
with U.S. support, of course. But you have a powerful army. Poland has a powerful army, right? You have other powerful armies in our region. I think this is the goal. So certainly, and Ukraine will become part of some security settings. It will have a strong bilateral relation with Poland, Great Britain, Baltic states. And it needs to be fitting in the entire architecture. So for sure, this will be also, I think, part of the talks as well.
Right. Okay. Moving away from the military aid onto humanitarian aid and reconstruction support. I mean, the US has recently approved a $45 billion package for humanitarian purposes. Do you think that'll form part of the conversation?
Yeah, it might be, because sustainability is very important. I think, maybe it could be somehow simplified, but United States is indispensable for military aid in this current stage. It is indispensable also partner in the long-term, let's say, security partnerships. In terms of reconstruction and providing a necessary financial means to the Ukraine, I would say that Europe is decisive, right? So certainly it will be part of it, because, look, no other means than foreign direct investments is better guarantee of sustainability of kind of, economic development. Ukraine will get a lot of subsidies, a lot of grants, a lot of loans, a lot of support from different kind of budgets. But Ukraine will desperately need foreign direct investments, renewal of German companies, Polish companies going in,
right,
and certainly also the US companies. So I think this will be, I would expect that a talk with US business community and economic expert will be important part of the talks.
Right. Okay, well, we wait to see what happens. The other thought that came to us was, is there a chance that he'll be asking for greater NATO involvement in Ukraine? I mean, they've been asking for, a no-fly zone, for example, almost since the start of the war. Do you think he might be pursuing that goal as well?
I don't think this is now the phase for it. Look, I was a couple of military experts at the very beginning of the conflict. We were really arguing and we made advocacy for limited non-fly zone over the western Ukraines, taking into account that the entire non-fly zone was not possible. We were also arguing for providing air composites operation towards Mariupol, Mariupol, humanitarian airlift with full force protection when it was needed. I think this time is gone. And I can tell you bluntly, I'm quite disappointed by the performance of NATO as such. Apart from providing its, let's say, intelligence capabilities and flights over the Ukraine, including AVAX and this kind of stuff. So, but it was rather than on, let's say, bilateral aid, different NATO members, and it will be so. So I think there is no now room for major NATO engagement.
Okay,
it could be, if NATO would be providing help with U.S. logistics or maintenance, for instance, because maintenance is a real issue, because the technique is being repaired in Poland, Baltic states, Romania.
Right.
But if NATO be able, for instance, to hire on commerce basis and huge maintenance companies and get them directly to Ukraine.
Right. Well, we'll be keeping a very close eye on the situation, Mr. Swarovski. Unfortunately, we do have to end our conversation here, but do come back and give us some more insights at your earliest. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Bye-bye. And that's all from me on the special interviews, but don't go away. We have Eastern Express coming right up.